General background: The rat on the wall. Manus sat in silence on the bottom steps of the stairway. With his knees tucked under his chin, he fitted snugly inside a ray of sunlight which penetrated the dark hallway through the stained glass window above the heavy wooden door. In the 4 years since his father's death, a vindictive, sombre air permanently lurked in the house. Harbours of warmth and light were frail, transient things. The girls had already left for school, and the house was deserted, save for Manus and his mother Ruth. She was making the most of the rest before her hard day's work began. He was hoping desperately for a reprieve from school. One of the teachers at the school had taken it upon himself to iron out the wrinkles in Manus's character by beating him so severely that Manus had to attend hospital. Ruth had complained about the violence done to her child, but had been told that the teacher in question was soon to be retired, and in taking this complaint any further would be a big stab in the back for Catholic education. Manus had survived that teacher's class, but he still hated school, and by way of a plea, he let loose a faked, rasping cough, to which his mother responded in her exasperated, exhausted voice. "If I have to get out of my bed to get you out to school, I'll break your two legs." Manus trailed his feet as he trudged up Blackwood Street, deliberately scuffing the toes of the shoes she had worked so hard to buy him. His vain efforts to be excused from school had made him late again. He would be punished again. But it was not totally without compensation. Free from the school kids and workers who had already travelled to their appointed places of toil, the road was not busy, and apart from two women downstairs, the bus was empty, allowing Manus full reign of the upper deck. He took as his right the front seat, from where he had a stately view of all the little streets, shops, and people. The bus rolled down the Armour Road, past where the stink of the gasworks leered through the windows, then through the markets area to Crummock Street, where it slowed down to turn left into May Street. It was just on the corner of May Street, where the bus travelled at its slowest pace, that Manus jumped from the open platform, running to stay on his feet onto the pavement. He passed the courthouse and turned down the back of Town Hall Street as far as the court cells, before turning left to face the high-walled police barracks. Their huge gates were open this morning, allowing a view of the large, impressive cobblestone courtyard. The entry, which served as a back entrance to his primary school, was lined on one side by the barracks wall, and on the other by a fruiterer's warehouse and a flour mill. Inside the mill, an unmanned machine for loading bags of flour onto lorries still turned. Normally the entry was swarming with boys who played hurling, handball and Gaelic football, soccer being banned on account of its association with England. They fought in the entry too, and the high walls amplified and echoed the screams and yells which normally accompanied most of their actions. But this morning the boys had already answered the bell, and the entry was empty. The mill workers had all disappeared for tea break, and apart from the clicking of their unmanned machine, there was an eerie silence in the entry. Manus had heard of the big bombs that killed all the people and left the buildings and machinery still standing. He thought the end of the world could have come, and there was nobody left but him. The solitary slap of his shoes on the concrete alleyway echoed back at him with menace. He might have run in blind, childish panic had he not seen it. The rat, like an eighth wonder from a Marvel magazine, defied gravity and clung 4 feet from the ground on the corner of the barracks wall. Manus had never seen a rat so clearly before. It had short, fur-like brown hair and beady eyes, and its body ran parallel with the length of the bricks. The two observed each other briefly before scurrying in their separate directions. The rat made its way back to the mill, while Manus ascended the broad, cast iron stairs which led from the schoolyard to the upper floor of the old stone school. It was a peculiar building, built in the 1870s, made of large, coarse granite stones, with its upper floor jutting out to overhang part of the schoolyard. The yard was walled off, leaving the overall image to resemble one of the old tower houses, built for protection rather than a place for education. Manus tried to sit unnoticed on the long wooden bench at the back of the classroom, but the black smocked, chubby figure of the brother beckoned to the boy. The brother squatted down on his hunkers beside the hearth to bend his leather strap over the open coke fire which burnt in the centre of the partly partitioned room. Manus stood with little defiance, but the disinterested acceptance of the unavoidable. "I missed the bus," he tried, but the excuse seemed lame, so he added, "And I stopped to watch a rat on the wall in the entry." "There are no rats in the vicinity of this school," stated the brother categorically. The boy and the brother were an interesting diversion for the rest of the class, and perhaps it was for the entertainment of his audience that Manus cheeked. "If there are no rats in the school, then how come you put rat poison down in the cupboards?" His audience were pleased with the show, but the brother was not. "There are no rats in the vicinity of this school," he repeated, and had Manus hold out his hands so that he could be punished for being late. The brother strapped unusually hard, so that each stroke left a red swelling. After 3 strokes on each hand, Manus expected his punishment to be over. He folded his arms across his chest to fit his injuries snugly into his armpits, and half turned to return to his seat. But the brother caressed the boy lightly across the face with the strap, and smiling sadistically had him extend his hands once more. This time he was to be punished for telling lies about seeing rats. The brother did not come from Belfast, but from one of the 26 counties which were no longer under British rule. His years of experience as headmaster of school, which existed under pressure within a sectarian state, had taught him the necessity of blind loyalty. And as he strapped the boy, that was the true message which he wished to convey. Oxford Street Christian Brothers Primary School was a good clean school which had no faults, no problems, and no rats. The brother continued to strap. The boy stood there blubbering. His lack of intelligence, our naive, stupid stubbornness, forcing him to stick to his story. There was a rat on the wall.